One-way traffic tonight from within 5 minutes. Tottenham in front through Raphael van der Vaart, and it just got better and better. Second half went pretty much the same way as the first. Gareth Bale with a neat finish for 4, and eventually Aaron Lennon in the right place at the right time. 5-0 to Tottenham. Easy peasy, really. Let's get some reaction from the Tottenham camp. Jake Livermore and Jermaine Defoe are with Ned.
Gentlemen, congratulations. As plans go, Jermaine, that was pretty perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Beforehand, we knew it would be a difficult game. Coming here, atmosphere was fantastic. They're a tough side to play against, but I think it was important for us to be professional and try and set a tempo where, we press high, and when we get the ball, we keep it, which we did. I think the first half, the movement was fantastic. It's what we've done all week in training, just make sure that, everyone moves off the ball, and we got the goal, so it was great.
Jake, I suspect that's going to be a night you'll remember for the rest of your life, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a good night. The most important thing is, that we get through to the next round, and we give ourselves a good platform to get there.
It could be a very important season for you, couldn't it? The opportunities there to state your place.
Yeah, we've got a big squad, but there's quality throughout, and hopefully I can get my chance, like I have tonight, and hopefully I can take it.
Yeah, likewise, Jermaine. Big season for you as well. Opportunities are there to push on as a club and as an individual again.
Yeah, like Jake said, it's a massive squad. Players that maybe more players will come in. So it's a big season for everyone. Everyone involved in a football club. We want to finish in that top 4, and tonight was the first game of the season. It was important to, like I said, be professional and win the game when we've done that.
You certainly did that. Well done to both of you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Get the impression, Andy and George, that they not expected that, but there's a kind of assuredness, isn't there, an experience with these Tottenham players now as a club. They kind of know what they're about in Europe.
Yeah, they had a fantastic season last season, and they've carried on. As Joe Jordan said before they started, they've got experience, they've got youth. The boy Livermore gained experience with Ipswich last season in Championship. That sort of shone through. Jermaine Defoe sort of struggled a bit at the end of last season, but this season, he started nice and bright today. So I think that's important for Tottenham, because scoring goals was a problem at the end of the season. But they look lively tonight.
When the gap is that obvious between two teams, how much can you analyse either team, the pluses for Tottenham and the problems for Hearts?
I think you can look at the pluses for Spurs. I thought they were slick and they looked up to speed. I think Harry will be very pleased with the way his team looked physically. I expected to come in and see a few good old-fashioned Scottish tackles and getting it in and around Dawson and Cabal and Big John Sutton, maybe giving them something to think about and support up to him, and they wanted to play. And that may be the Paulo Sergio's philosophy. Great, but I think you've got to assess the opposition. I think you've got to know what they're about. Don't forget, this Tottenham side went to Milan and saw both of those teams off. So, you can't help but think he's got it all wrong from the start, and the worst thing that could have happened was to concede early on, and I'm afraid that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, 1 became 2 and 3 in that first half, and it was just too easy, wasn't it? It was a bit knife through butterish.
Yeah, first half it was really a practice game for Tottenham.
Yeah.
Hearts never get amongst them. As Andy said, you were expecting tackles, you're expecting to get close. Tottenham's got some good footballers, and you look at that centre midfield, you think, well, if you get about them, you've got a chance. But it certainly didn't happen first half.
No, there was perhaps an element of fortune, and I think it even strikes an arm on the way through, for all that it's obviously fortuitous. Van der Vaart makes the most, and then you liked Aaron Lennon's involvement here.
I think this was terrific. They just swapped over Bale and Lennon and just bounced it in. That ball there from Aaron Lennon is fast and it's very accurate, and Defoe, great first touch. And when he's in and around the 6-yard box, Jermaine Defoe rarely misses, and that's a really sweet finish. And they were already up to full speed, Spurs. They were enjoying it. Look, lots of room. And the red shirts, I'm afraid, just couldn't really get near them, George, could they?
No, they're just standing in space there. They're not actually marking anybody. And, playing lovely little 1-2s round the box. And if you don't have space, it's difficult. But they had space, so they found it easy.
In the absence, as they did for periods of last season, of a regular goal-scoring striker, you need your other players to chip in. Now, in the second half, both Gareth Bale and Aaron Lennon ended up on the score sheet with well-worked goals, and Tottenham rely on that. Yeah,
and the more goals you've got on your side, the better, coming from all different positions. But somebody like Defoe, I think it's important for Tottenham that he finds that the goals regular. But you say Gareth Bale showed last season he's a good finisher, and this was a classic Tom Hiddleston ball. We talked about that before the game started. For me, he's a brilliant passer of the ball. Gareth's pace, got onto it and finished it easily.
Yeah, you can see the George Burley School of Coaching coming to the fore.
Certainly
there,
can there. Absolutely right. Great ball, and once Bale just penetrates the offside trap, his first touch is good enough to go around the goal. He's always going to score.
Yeah, and then the way the fifth was worked from back to front. I mean, there was a kind of ruthlessness about it, wasn't there?
Again, I said very slick, and I thought Andros Townsend did well when he come on. He had 1 or 2 shots himself, and that's a great ball inside the fullback. Aaron Lennon, top of the screen, is always too quick for the fullback. Brilliant ball from Defoe, 1-touch finish, and that's classic European counter-attacking football.
It is, and they've probably learnt that. They've done it to better teams than Hearts. They'll probably do it to better teams than Hearts.
Your top teams with the pace are most dangerous when you've got the ball in their half or from set plays, because they break so quickly. And you said, well, look at that. That was a tremendous, counter-attack for the 5th goal.
Impressive, very impressive Tottenham tonight, and they will, of course, barring something unbelievable next week, they will move through to the group phase. We will, before we're done here tonight, round up everything that's happened across Europe in terms of the British clubs, certainly in the Europa League qualifiers tonight. But Tottenham, happy as Larry, happy as Harry. Back shortly. The Europa League picture from a British perspective tonight looks like this. They're still going at Celtic Park, but it is still goalless between Celtic and FC Sion. A 8:05 kickoff. So fingers crossed for Neil Lennon's men in the closing stages. Stoke have won 1-0 at FC Toon. Danny Pugh with a goal. That bodes well for next week at the Britannia. Fulham 3-0 winners at the Cottage over the Dnipro, so that's excellent for Martin Jol's team. Rangers were 1-up through Ortiz, but have lost 2-1 in Slovenia to Maribor. Of course, the second leg at Ibrox next week, and goalless for Birmingham in Madeira against the Portuguese side Nacional. So all in all, certainly a good night for the English, and generally a good night for British clubs in the Europa League. Certainly a good night for Tottenham and their manager Harry Redknapp, who's now with Ned.
Harry, 5-0 away from home in Europe. Bet you didn't expect that.
No, for sure. I expected a tough game tonight, and it's an intimidating place to come. But we started the game so well. I mean, we moved the ball around fantastic in that first half. I would say that was as good as I've seen us play, to be honest with you.
It was almost like your frustration at having to wait for your season came out on the pitch, and they showed what they could do, didn't they?
Well, we passed the ball great. We played with a team with loads of ability. We played Nico Cranchar, was fantastic. I played him in the middle of the park tonight, and him and Rafa were linking up, and with great movement everywhere. I couldn't have asked for more. It was excellent.
In the meantime, I mean, you've been bemoaning the sort of lack of movement on the transfer market, and we know about Adebayor and your interest in him. Has anything moved in that sense today?
I don't know. As I said before, the chairman deals with that. I don't know where he's at with it, to be honest with you. If anything's going to happen, he'll ring me and tell me. So, we just wait and see, really. But as the manager, it's still an option you definitely want to pursue. Yeah. I mean, despite what we saw on the pitch today in terms of your goal scoring. You can't get carried away. I mean, it's just, one game. It was a great performance tonight in a difficult against, I felt an intimidating place to come and play. But, it's a different game Monday night going to Old Trafford, that's for sure. Good way to start the Europa League campaign as well. Does it change the way you feel about that competition? No, we just got to, we wanted to get through to the next stage, and, it gives us a chance to play one or two of the younger players as well. It'd be a good experience for them. Jake did well tonight. Andros came on and did well. So it was good for them to get a chance to play, and hopefully we can keep doing that in the competition. Well done, Harry. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pretty much all smiles for Spurs. They're at Old Trafford on Monday night. From a Hearts point of view, given the reputation of the owner, it's not the ideal start for Paolo Sergio, I suppose. Well, I mean, it was a great night, back in Europe, Hearts. But it was a disappointing result, of course. First half, I thought, never really get going as far as closing Tottenham down. Better second half, but as you say, disappointing result. They'll go to White Hart Lane and try and do a bit better. Yeah. But they've got to take that in the chin. New manager, he's got to get used to the players. They've got to get used to him. So that will take time. But certainly, I think Tottenham were expecting a tougher game than they got tonight. Yeah, and if you keep, I suppose, trying to go in a different direction, as you will with a different manager, it's hard to get that kind of stability and consistency, all the things we talked about at the start. Yeah, and it's difficult for the players as well. I think when things are chopping and changing, you're never totally sure. And I was just looking at the bench tonight, weren't we, Matt, as the game was going on. And whereas Harry's bench, he was talking to Joe Jordan, he's talking to Kevin Bond, and they're all, there's Paolo Sergio standing in the corner, and the rest of them are just sat there, and it just looked like
he looked like a guy that was on his own and just trying to make the very best of it. Yes, he wants to put his own stamp on it, as George says. Why not? If you're working for an owner that's a bit lively, then you're as well as doing it your own way as opposed to doing it any other way. But I think clearly tonight, he's got one or two players that are a bit limited in this sort of company, and he was trying to get it down and play, all very admirable, but it was just the wrong tactic against a very, very slick and very powerful Tottenham side.
And having heard from Harry there with Ned, he obviously wants to do some business before the transfer window closes. When you look at what they've got good young players, but would you worry about their centre of the pitch if they were to lose, say, Modric in the next week or so?
Yeah, I mean, they're missing one or two players tonight.
Yeah.
But I think in the English Premier League, you've got to keep improving. There's no, if you're standing still, other teams will overtake you. That's the problem Harry faces. Last season, a magnificent season, did so well, so you want to move on. And that means improving the squad. They've got a great squad, they've got young players. You'll utilise the Europa League to bring young players in, which will be good. You'll rest a lot of players for other European competitions because the league's the most important. But it's important to go forward, and that means he's got to add one or two players to the squad.
Add and not lose.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen with Luka Modric. Obviously, Harry's already said he doesn't want to lose him, and considering the strides that they've made over the last couple of years since he's been at the club, it would seem odd if you really want to muscle in, as George says, with the very best, and try and get in that top four on a reasonably regular basis, then letting people like Modric go isn't going to help that. Of course it's not. We'll have to see what happens and see how it affects the team over the course and distance of the season. I think that this year he sees an opportunity, I'm sure, Harry. You see Arsenal, they look weaker at the moment. They're not quite as strong as they once were.
Yeah.
There's a big opportunity. Liverpool aren't playing in Europe.
No.
Of course,
and
they've added to their
yeah.
squad. So domestically they should be stronger as well. So look, it's not going to be easy to finish in the top four, but if he can add rather than lose his key players, then I always think Tottenham are going to be in the shake-up.
We're all done pretty much for tonight, fellas. If you look at the three of us, you can guess which one of the Scott is, can't you? The one without a coat in August.
The benches are out there.
Exactly. Right, two more big European games for you next week from us. Arsenal on Wednesday, the return leg of their game in Italy against Udinese. That's from 7:30 on Wednesday night. And then, of course, the return leg of this on Thursday. We're at White Hart Lane for Tottenham against Hearts. 5 up the Spurs from tonight. Started like a train and finished at a canter, Spurs. A sticky end, you'd say, for the Jam Tarts. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
There was no way that Tottenham Hotspur were ever going to be allowed to take this one lightly. Not in Scotland, not at Tynecastle. Rafael van der Vaart, and Tottenham have the early lead. Beautifully played and beautifully finished. It's 3-0. Men against boys. Gareth Bale, 4-0. Here's Aaron Lennon, fabulous goal. Class from Tottenham Hotspur.